Hey gang, Jeff Stone here with day 80 of the year 2015 at MagicReview.com. This is the second video I've done today. The first one was announcing the contest winners, and the lighting was all wacky and weird. And I said that maybe by the time I do the review today, the lighting would be fixed, and look at this, it's fixed magically all by itself. I have no idea why. Anyway, hopefully you guys have watched the contest video and you saw who won. It's pretty exciting stuff. And it's over, and I'm glad for that, man. It was a lot of fun, but man, it was a lot of work. So thanks again for all the participation. It was huge. It really helped grow my Facebook, my YouTube channel, my Twitter, everything, and even my email list. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Next up, Tom Wright, Stand Up Magic. So this is it's 3 hours, and this is 2 days in a row where I planned the next day's review, thinking that it was going to be a short video to watch, and it was not. It was 2 DVDs. I did that yesterday too with Zero Elements. It was 2 DVDs. This was 3 hours, guys. First one's 1 hour, and the second one's 2 hours. So what you're getting is actually a very, very cool concept, a very smart idea that I'm surprised nobody has ever thought of before. I mean, it's very, very smart. This idea could be summed up in 4 words. But if I told you those 4 words, you would go, that's it? And you might not buy this. I don't very often recommend that you actually buy something. I always say, now you know what you need to know to make the decision. But occasionally, and this is one of those situations where I feel if you're a close-up worker, you need to buy this. It's 48 bucks, and I'll tell you what you're going to get here in a second. But this is one of those kind of things where, again, if I told you what it was, you would just go, well, that's all? I mean, what else do I need to know? Why buy this 3-hour video if that's all you're doing? Trust me. First of all, you're going to learn several effects, pretty standard classics in Magic, so nothing too new. But this isn't about effects. This particular DVD is not about learning new tricks. It's about how to perform close-up magic in such a way that it changes everything. Especially if you're working in a situation like a restaurant or a banquet or something where there's waiters and that kind of thing. It completely changes your dynamic with the wait staff. It's something that prevents them from interrupting you. It gets your audience more engaged. You know, what else? There's a ton. I mean, it gets them to where they can see the effects better. It gets it to where you can do different effects that you wouldn't normally be able to do in a close-up setting. You get better reactions, on and on and on. And there's just tons of great things. And built into it are these natural photo op moments for if you have a photographer at a particular event, or if you just, you know, have audience members wanting to take a quick picture. There's a lot of great photo opportunities that really, it's hard to explain without saying too much, the tipping kind of what this idea is. But there's some very clever ideas in relation to that will help in your marketing as well. So this concept is covered. You see it in action on the first DVD. The first DVD is like 8 or 9 live performances at an actual corporate event, some sort of banquet, sort of presentation thing or whatever. What you see is him do the same set over and over again, like 8 times. So on one hand, it's a little hard to watch the same tricks 8 times in a row. But on the other hand, it's a lesson in watching a working pro work the night, you know. And so, you know, it's about 40 minutes of that. And then at the end of that, you see a studio performance of the same set, just, you know, sort of to the camera. And then after that, you see him just a studio only, something he did not do in the live performances, which is his ring and rope routine. So the effects, real quick, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth in a minute, but real quick, they're bottle production, bottle through table, chop cup, cards from mouth, you know, a la Bill Malone, and then card to mouth, you know, signed card to mouth, and I think that's it in the ring and rope routine. So just a handful of effects. They're all pretty standard effects, you know, that you've probably seen or done even. So First DVD, that's what you get, all the performance footage. Second DVD, he goes into the theory of this simple concept that you just saw in action. And he goes through how he came up with it and the history of it and why it works. And it's really, really smart, guys. It really is. I recently reviewed the Meridian Technique by Mark Elsden, which has, it's a different thing. What Mark Elsden's doing is a completely different thing. But it's another thing that a close-up worker should have in his arsenal for strolling. And it's Mark Elsden's thing is one of these things that will change the way you perform close-up magic. This stand-up magic is that same kind of thing. Totally different from Mark Elsden's, but the same genre of an idea that's very simple that will change the way your close-up magic is forever. I really believe that. And there's a quote from Matthew Wright that I think he said, oh, it's on the video, but he said that this could revolutionize the close-up magic industry or something like that. And I really believe that. And I know that's like some big claims here, but it's very simple, very smart idea. So you learn about how to do it and situations when you shouldn't do it, actually, because there are some exceptions, and some great ideas on how to handle certain situations that it might be a little bit awkward to do it, and how to deal with that and how to adjust that. He talks about how to ease your way into it so that you don't have to, because it's not hard or anything, but it's such a different way to approach close-up magic that you might be a little bit afraid to try it. And so he teaches a very simple, clever, easy way to ease yourself into it and to get used to doing it that way until you can eventually do this at every one of your tables. Very, very smart. Very well taught. So the effects themselves, it's like an hour and a half of instruction for those 5 effects. Maybe just a little bit too much instruction there. It was pretty dang detailed. Maybe a little too much. But I'd rather have too much than too little. But you'll learn everything you need to know to do those effects that he does. Now, the methods are pretty standard methods. I mean, it's a chop cup. It's a bottle production, so you have like a holdout. So it's all pretty standard stuff. And I will say he does, after the bottle production, he then produces his shoe, in the same manner they produce the bottle. And I saw the performance like 9 times, and every time they didn't cut the camera away, but I still missed him loading the shoe. I mean, it's the misdirection and the timing of it, and everything's really, really clever. And then there's a thing in his chop cup routine where same thing. Every time I missed this one particular load that he does. So it's the stuff is constructed very cleverly. Now, if you're going to do his set, which I don't recommend that you do, I'll tell you why in a minute, but if you're going to do his set, you're going to be pretty loaded up. You're going to have the bottle holder, you're going to have the chop cup, you're going to have your top it, you got all the loads for the chop cup, and it's a lot of stuff, and it's pretty bulky. And I'm a big guy already. You put a coat on me, and I gain about 10 pounds, and then you put all these props on me, man. It just doesn't work for me. But that's just a personal thing. But the reason I recommend you don't do his presentation is because they're his. That's the way he does it. And this isn't about being a copycat of Tom Wright. This is about learning this concept and changing the way you perform your magic. And he talks about how to take your magic and you're able to perform it, even just the stuff that you already kind of do, and do it in a better, different way that fits the venue, or that fits this new style, I should say. And there's even stuff that you normally might not be able to do in a close-up setting that you can do now because of this new idea. This is really, really smart. So the methods are all fine and legitimate, and they're all easy, conceptually, and they're nothing crazy or hard or anything about them. The ring on rope routine has got a lot of nice combinations of moves, and he combines sort of not Miser's Professor's Nightmare, a rope thing, but a really stripped down, quick version of it before he gets into the ring and rope routine. And when I say ring, I'm talking about like those old Adams set linking rings, one of those kind of rings. And he does this very visual Miser's Professor's Nightmare. There's the Miser's Dream, but I have an effect called Miser's Nightmare, and so I keep thinking of that. That's on my Gemstones DVD, by the way. It's stonecoldmagic.com. But I keep thinking of Miser's Nightmare when I'm trying to think Professor's Nightmare. Anyway, so it's a very visual method, and I've never really seen it before. I've seen one magician do it, and it fooled me. And then I saw this one, and I still was not sure how the heck he did it. It's simple way. It's very visual, and it's, in my opinion, the method is far superior to the original classic or whatever handling that you've probably seen and are familiar with. So I like that a lot. The method again. The only thing I had a little bit of an issue with was, and this is why it didn't get 5 stars, was this one little thing. For the bottle through table, there's a gimmick you need, and he shows them to you, but he doesn't tell you where to get them or what they're called or anything at all. Now, I imagine if you did a search for bottle through table gimmick, you'd probably find them. But as thorough as the instruction was, I felt it was lacking there. And the same thing with the bottle holdout thing. He showed it to us and he pulled it off his belt and showed us what it looked like, but didn't tell you where to get it or anything like that. And so, now, again, this isn't about doing what he's doing. But if you did want to do a bottle through table and use those gimmicks, it'd be nice if he gave a little bit of a reference there. So I just felt that was a little bit lacking there. And then there's one issue in the ad copy. It's not, and this didn't affect the rating, but I think it's important to bring this up. There's a quote from David Penn that says, "Tom has the best chop cup routine I've ever seen." Well, Mr. Penn, you have probably not seen that many chop cup routines then. Now, I don't mean that as an insult to Tom Wright's chop cup routine. What I mean by that is his routine was the same pretty much routine that everybody else does. It's, the guessing game about, is the ball under the cup or is it in my pocket? Is it in my hand? Is it in my pocket? And then, is it over here? Is it over there? And, oh, look, now there's a lemon or an orange under the cup, or now there's a tennis ball under the cup, or whatever. It's nothing that I haven't seen before. Yeah, maybe there's a move here or there that he does this different or whatever, but it was nothing revolutionary and nothing that was over the top that made it that makes it stand out. Like, okay, for example, Tommy Wonder's cups and ball routine. You watch that one, and then you're like, wow, that's different. That's unique. That could be one of the best cups and balls routines ever, because there is something different and unique about it. But most people that do the cups and balls, they do the same. They do the Vernon routine basically with minimal little modifications here and there. And so the chop cup, almost everybody I've ever seen do a chop cup does pretty much the same thing that Tom Wright did. Now, it's a good routine. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying David Penn's quote seemed a little bit more like hype for the ad copy than it did anything else. So and I'm not, slamming Penn or Wright. I'm just making a point that that just, to me, felt like a little bit of a weird quote. But again, that has no bearing on the final rating because it's all opinion there, And that maybe it is the best one he's ever seen. I don't know. Last but not least, also does not affect the star rating, but is very important for you as a viewer if you purchase this product. And if you're a close-up performer who works on a regular basis, I recommend that you do. Tom Wright has some bad habits in his performance. And again, I'm not insulting the guy. I'm not criticizing the guy. Well, I'm critiquing him. We'll give it that. But I'm telling you, I'll tell you what 2 of the ones are that I think are a real problem in a minute. But I'm telling you this so that if you pick this up, you don't pick up those bad habits. And that's a very common thing with a lot of magicians who have problems in their presentation. Other magicians buy them and they pick up the bad habits. I think I've told you the story about my effect jacked up from Jay Sankey's Underground Jam DVD. When I was on that video, I performed that effect jacked up and I screwed up my patter, but we just left it in because it wasn't a huge deal. Well, then after it came out, a lot of people really liked that effect and they started performing it. And this one kid performed it on YouTube with my exact same pattern, including the screw up that I did. And so it's just, he was just copying me, which I'm not offended or insulted by or whatever. I was flattered, frankly, that he wanted to put his performance of it out there. But I'm just saying you want to do it your own style. And so that's one reason you don't want to copy Tom Wright, because it's not you, it's him. 2, because of these bad habits, I don't want you to pick them up. So first one is well, you know what? I want to look at what I wrote because it'll make it more clear on how I say this. Okay. So one of them, I found the word I was looking for. He treats his audience like they're his, understudy, mindless prop handlers. Hey, you over there, hold this coin, and you take this handkerchief and examine it, and you sign that card, and yeah, give me that back and put it over here, and examine this bottle, and make, it's very impersonal and very cold and pushy, and arguably maybe that's just his character, but these are human beings we're dealing with here, folks, and we need to treat them as such. And if you haven't seen Paul Draper's At the Table lecture, you need to watch that. The Murphy's at the Table lecture. It just came out like a week or so ago, and he talks a lot about this, and it's very, very good information about how to treat your audience. And I just felt that Tom Wright has a problem there. And again, I'm telling you this so you don't pick up the bad habit, and on the odd chance that Tom Wright watches this video, a little personal feedback for him that hopefully you, Tom, aren't taking offense at being offended by it. I'm not meaning it that way at all. The second one is, oh man, it drives me crazy. It's when magicians use these just mindless phrases over and over again, and the one that he uses a lot is "tell you what," or "I'll tell you what." It's bad enough that I'll tell you what, I'll have you sign this card. Tell you what, examine this coin. I'll tell you what we're going to do next. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'm not kidding. He probably said that like 50 times. I'm guessing. Maybe it's not that many, but it was a lot. But here's the real problem with it. It wasn't even, I'll tell you what. It was more like, tell you what, tell you what, tell you what, tell you what. It was blended all his words together. They were slurred together. And it was just like this mindless mumbling of sounds put together that had no purpose whatsoever. And that, to me, is, I'm a firm believer in scripting, but I'm not like hardcore scripter, like I must know every single word I will say in the performance. But I do believe in scripting out and having a thought about what I'm going to say and more clearly. And so I have a lot less mindless words and filler words in my performances. Now, these videos are an exception because these are totally unscripted. I just write the review and then I film the video on the fly here, as you can probably tell. But in a performance, a paid performance, I think that you need to be more professional than that. And it just looks bad. So here's the thing. Don't pick up that habit, number one. Number two, Tom, if you're listening, brother, just offering some friendly advice, that's all. So take it for what it's worth. And if you don't, that's fine too. It's not my business, really. I'm just trying to help out. But that aside, even with all that, those, in my opinion, major problems in a performance, this technique he's teaching you on how to make your performances better can overcome those things. I mean, in other words, all the stuff he claims on the ad copy is true, even though he has those flaws in his performance. That's how clever this technique is. Now, it's certainly no excuse to continue having those flaws in your performance, but the point is, doing this technique that you learn on this DVD set, you will be able to increase and up your set, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but up your performance and the power of it, even though you may have these kind of flaws in your performance. So that's how clever and smart this thing is. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. It's time for you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, share it out to all your peeps, and listen to the random iTunes song of the moment, which is... oh man, yeah, I love this song. And it's at the very beginning too. As you know, now I mute my music while we're talking here, and it just plays whenever it starts. This is Into the Night by Benny Mardones. Kid was like 16 when he recorded this, and he sounds like this 30-year-old man with his mature, amazing voice. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, folks. Tune in tomorrow, day 81, where we look at RSV Presents Hide and Seek by James Brown. No, not the singer, I don't think. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.